Good morning. My name is Stephen Tucker. I'm the president and CEO of Northland Workforce Training Center. Welcome. We are one of the organizations that make up Northland Central. Our partner organizations include Buffalo Manufacturing Works, Insight Consulting, and the Buffalo Niagara Manufacturing Alliance. Collectively, we create an ecosystem to provide resources for the advanced manufacturing sector. Resources such as assistance with process improvement, with automation services, as well as workforce development. The mission of the Northland Workforce Training Center is to train and prepare local residents for outstanding careers in advanced manufacturing and clean energy. And the whole reason why we exist is because as a region, we are projecting to need to fill about 20,000 job openings in the next 10 years. Right now, our manufacturing partners state that they have 3,000 job openings that go unfilled every day due to a lack of a qualified workforce. As you all know, the advanced manufacturing sector is critical to Western New York's economy as well as the United States economy. And now I'd like to introduce, to make an important announcement, the great senator of the state of New York, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.
Thank you. Is this one yours?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, well, hello everybody. Thank you, Stephen, for not only the great ideas and vision, but thank you for your leadership. It really does matter. And I want to thank the Northland Workforce Training Center at SUNY Erie for hosting us today. The work that's being done here is outstanding. I also want to thank and recognize the Western New York Area Labor Federation, AFL-CIO President, Peter DeJesus. Thank you so much for being here. It's amazing to have such a great collaborative partnership. And I'm happy to be here to talk about the future of our economy. Over the last few weeks and months, we have heard so much about the disruption of our supply chain as manufacturing and shipping operations around the world have slowed and products and supplies have begun to pile up at ports. Even before COVID, our economy was shifting towards ordering more products to our homes. Then, when COVID hit, that trend accelerated, whether it was desks and computers to work from home, or home gym equipment, or household supplies, or that new couch because you were tired of sitting on the old one. Our purchasing patterns really did change. We need to take action in order to keep the pace with the growing demand and ensure that we are not beholden to international supply chains. I believe that the best way to build up our economy is to build it here in America. That's why I'm introducing the Made in America Manufacturing Communities Act of 2022, which will help create good, family-supporting manufacturing jobs that stabilize our national supply chain and our local economies. This bill would call for our Secretary of Commerce to establish a manufacturing communities support program, which would strengthen the manufacturing base of the United States by making long-term investments in manufacturing communities. Those investments would come in the form of support for public-private partnerships between academic and workforce development training programs like those here at the Northland Workforce Training Center, commercial industry, not-for-profit organizations, state and local governments. By allowing local groups to come together in consortiums and develop their own plans, they can design a program that fits the unique needs, skills, and capabilities of their own communities and their own employers. They can also use these federal resources to expand programs that are already running. The Department of Commerce would help these groups cut through the red tape, and it would offer both financial and technical support to them, so they have the resources and information they need to stand these programs up and rebuild our domestic manufacturing capabilities. We already know this approach works. The bill is modeled on a very successful Defense Manufacturing Community Support Program, which I established through the National Defense Authorization Act several years ago. Thanks to that program, we have made critical investments in developing defense manufacturing companies across the country that are now gaining the skills, facilities, and research capabilities necessary to support and innovate our national security operations. I want to see this approach used in every industry. We already make great products in America, We need to support companies and the people that make them. When we do that, we can ensure that the next generation of technology and products are made here and made well. There's no better resource in America than the American worker. I know that we have the innovative spirit, the drive, and the dedication that we need to build the future right here in Buffalo, right here in upstate New York, right here across the country. This bill already has bipartisan support, and I'll keep fighting until we pass it, because supporting local manufacturing and jobs is one of my top priorities. I'd now like to introduce Peter DeJesus, President of the Western New York AFL-CIO.
Thank you, Senator. So I want to first thank Senator Gillibrand for not only recognizing a serious issue with our domestic supply chain, but also putting forth a long-term solution to address this issue. The Made in America Manufacturing Communities Act is a bipartisan bill designed to strengthen the U.S. manufacturing base through long-term investments. Long-term investments in critical skills, workforce training, research and development. This is what we have needed for a long time to get back to being a country that actually builds things, yes. Right? As the Senator has stated, the American worker, when given the tools to do the job and placed on a level playing field, is the greatest, most productive worker there is, period. We've known this for a very long time, yet we haven't invested in the American worker to ensure that they have the tools, the knowledge, and the capabilities to do the job. So the Made in America Manufacturing Communities Act of 2022 begins to level that playing field to ensure that the American workers of tomorrow have the skills, the tools, everything needed to accomplish the job. As you heard earlier, the jobs are out there. They need to be filled. We need to make sure that we're proactively educating, training, and giving the financial resources to those communities that are going to build the next America. So with that, I thank you, Senator Gillibrand, for your work on this bipartisan bill and addressing the issue. It's what we need when we talk about common sense legislation. This is it. This is it. This is a bipartisan bill. Nobody can argue that we need to start building things in this country again. So thank you for that, Senator Gillibrand.
So true. Okay, we'll take on topics for our experts and me first, and then we'll do off topics.
Can you specifically talk about manufacturing here in Buffalo and what manufacturers and products fit into this Made in America bill?
Either. You guys have ideas?
Specifically, what products are being made here that will fit into this bill sheet?
Well, the manufacturing sector in Western New York, there's currently almost 1,500 firms employing almost 65,000 individuals. And these companies offer jobs that pay family sustainable wages that includes benefits and pathways to the middle class. We have outstanding medical device companies, food processing companies, automotive and aerospace companies right here producing products that's sold not only in America but throughout the world. And they can't grow their businesses unless they have the resources. And one of the most critical resources are workforce. So collectively at the Northland Central, our partners, Buffalo Manufacturing Works, as well as Insight Consulting, we're trying to support those manufacturers. And this bill will allow us to continue to do so.
Specifically, what are some of the students people being trained for here? What are some of the jobs that they're going to be sent out to fill? What are the positions they're going to be sent out?
Right now, the most critical need is machining, CNC machining, electricians, industrial maintenance technicians, mechatronics technicians.
What was that last one? Mechatronics?
Mechatronics.
What's that?
Mechatronics is a combination of mechanical, electrical, electronics, pneumatics, hydraulics, basically robotics. When we talk about automation, you need individuals who are skilled and technically capable of troubleshooting and maintaining that equipment. We have one of the highest ranking mechatronics programs here in partnership with SUNY Erie, and we're graduating students at a high clip. What we need to do is replicate that strategy and expand to other counties, which this particular act would allow us to do.
So which manufacturers regionally, off the top of your head, could use mechatronics expertise?
We right now provide individuals at Tesla, at Fresenius Kabi, at Redevelopment. We also have an emerging green energy economy that's happening on the east side of Buffalo. I'd love to take you by.
Let's tour some of that, yep.
Yes.
Totally want to do that.
They're making renewable energy batteries. We have Spark Charge located here, making mobile charging stations for electric vehicles. Redevelopment again, They are transitioning diesel construction equipment into electric vehicles. They're also making last mile delivery electric vehicles right on the east side of Buffalo, and they need these skilled workers.
What kind of speed bump has the pandemic been in getting these folks trained into these jobs?
The biggest speed bump, it has accelerated the retirement cliff. So instead of waiting 5 to 10 years for 20,000 job openings, those jobs are open today. They're open right now. And right now it's a job seekers market. We don't have enough qualified candidates to fill these positions. So the pandemic slowed us down slightly, but it really accelerated and exacerbated individuals who are able to retire as a result of the pandemic.
The other thing that's really important about this bill, advanced manufacturing is how we compete and outcompete China. So, you know, we for many decades outsourced a lot of our manufacturing to China and other countries because it was cheaper. But the one thing you can never outsource is defense manufacturing and advanced manufacturing. And that's why we have the technological edge. Because when you send something overseas, they don't have the quality control that we have in the United States. So when you're looking for this precision manufacturing where the product has to be exactly right, we outperform every other country. That's where the quality of our workforce really does matter, and that's why the training done here really does matter. And it's very exciting to hear of all the growing industries. You know, we've always been in Western Europe, we've always been at the forefront of the auto industry. We've always produced engines, we've produced different types of parts, and that requires precision manufacturing to get the highest quality products. And so it's wonderful to hear what you're doing here. Is there any programs here that are helping in medical devices? Any type of manufacturing in that sector here?
Well, the main one, and it's interesting that you talk about medical devices, a new company just moved into our campus, Garwood Medical. They are manufacturing a medical device to address infections in prosthetic limbs. They're right now in research and development, and they hired one of our students. He's a CNC precision machinist. Again, I believe one of the highest in demand occupations here locally is machine makers, machinists, tool and die individuals. These are individuals who can manufacture high precision parts from reading a blueprint, and it takes years of education and experience to become 100% qualified in that area. We can't find enough quality machinists, and that's one of the occupations that most medical companies are utilizing. Even our other partners right on the east side of Buffalo, Harmac, they hire a lot of skilled machinists from us as well.
And do you do any, I've toured a lot of our community colleges and even high schools because they're starting to get kids interested in robotics for sure as a gateway, but also in 3D printing.
Yes.
Is that something you teach people how to do effectively here as part of a manufacturing supply chain?
That's something that we want to add to our repertoire, but our partners, Buffalo Manufacturing Works, they have outstanding equipment that they can use in prototyping. They do have a great array of 3D printing equipment.
Yeah, so these are all the big ideas that get us to being at the forefront of the labor market, but also keeping good manufacturers here in Western New York, because we have a history and a culture of making things well. And so we want to keep that supply chain here. We want to keep that education and labor force continuing to keep up with the market demands. So thank you for all the great work you're doing.
Thank you. And the long-term vision for the Northland Beltline Redevelopment project is to bring manufacturing back to the east side of Buffalo. Back in its heyday, this area where we're located used to employ upwards to 5,000 to 10,000 individuals who all live locally. Yeah. We had great companies like Niagara Machine and Tool, where we're located now, Curtis Wright, Otis Elevator, Hudai. But like many other Rust Belt cities, when those companies closed, the jobs dried up, the area kind of deteriorated. But now with the investment of $110 million on the east side of Buffalo and our partners, Buffalo Manufacturing Works, Insight Consulting, and the Buffalo Niagara Manufacturing Alliance, we want to transform this community into what we're calling the Advanced Manufacturing and Clean Energy Corridor. We now have a restaurant on location, a banking institution will be moving into the facility. We've already attracted other companies from outside of the area into the Northland Beltline Redevelopment Project. So the plan is actually working, and I'd like to thank you for your support in that.
My pleasure. Thank you. Any other on topics? Okay, happy to do off topics.
Senator, can you address the
Russian President Vladimir Putin has invaded Ukraine despite warnings, despite aggressive diplomacy to make that not be his choice. Now that he has invaded Ukraine, the United States has begun with our allies to institute aggressive sanctions. They will become crippling sanctions if Russia continues to persist in moving troops into Kyiv and other areas of Russia, and other areas of Ukraine. And the challenge is that the world community is standing against Russia today. And those sanctions are going to shut down two areas of their economy. It's going to shut down the banking system. The United States has selected their two most important banks that the Russian government uses, one that funds their military, one that funds their government. They're basically the slush funds of the Russian government. We've shut down those two bank accounts. We have sanctioned the individuals in Putin's inner circle, who, again, are part of the decision-making to invade Ukraine. And our allies have begun to sanction the members of the Russian government who voted for this incursion into Ukraine. And we've also gotten our ally Germany to no longer use the pipeline that it was going to use, Nord Stream 2, to get its natural gas supply from Russia. So the world community is standing against Putin. It is extremely serious what Putin has done because it's disrupting the entire region. It is flying in the face of all international and diplomatic norms, and it is going to destabilize the region for a long time. We in the United States have to protect our country from attacks by Russia. There may well be retaliation, cyber attacks, the type of disruption that our businesses will have to harden themselves against. And I stand ready on the Armed Services Committee and the Intelligence Committee to marshal the resources to protect our industries from the potential attacks from Russia. This is an extremely serious time. No one should underestimate or minimize what's happening and what could happen in the future. And so President Biden is standing strong with our allies to stand up against Russia and this disruption and these incursions that unfortunately is already resulting in the loss of life, as well as enormous fear and disruption within Ukraine itself.
Beyond sanctions, are you in support of U.S. action over there if it be necessary?
So I do not think that we endeavor to send troops to the Ukraine. We will, however, and have already sent troops to our NATO allies. We've had several deployments in the region, including to Poland, including many of the people from New York. And so we do stand ready to protect our NATO allies. Ukraine is not a member of NATO, but we have sent them support. We've sent them military support and other resources to protect against this invasion. And we've also used our leadership on the world stage to marshal the resources of our allies. And so we are standing to protect Ukraine, but it is not our intention to use military forces on the ground because that may well result in World War III. So we would prefer to use the resources of the world community to push Putin back and use sanctions as our greatest lever to squeeze the decision makers and to assert the consequences, the severe consequences of disrupting the international order by invading a free and sovereign country.
So what happens if the sanctions don't work? And I know the U.S. is not going to put troops on the ground here, but what if the sanctions just simply don't work?
So sanctions take time. And so in the same way that we have used sanctions around the globe when other countries do things that disrupt the world order and undermine peace, such as our sanctions with Iran, such as sanctions we've had in the past with Russia, sanctions against China. And it is one of the most important tools that the world community can marshal And if you are shutting off banking and the ability to create jobs and keep an economy moving, that will have a very debilitating impact on Russia over time. But we have to have patience, we have to stay steadfast and steely-eyed, and we have to use the resources we have available to us. This is not going to be short-term, this is likely going to be a long-term effort, and people have to understand the seriousness of it and to be prepared for consequences and to impact Russia as aggressively and in the most crushing way we possibly can.
When you mentioned Germany gets so much of this natural gas from Russia, maybe 65% or so, how long can they sustain this?
I've asked the same question. We have put in place with our allies a sufficient supply chain for Germany's power infrastructure, and so they are prepared to forego Nord Stream 2. And they've worked with the United States and their allies to make sure they have a sufficient energy supply chain.
You mentioned watching for possible retaliatory attacks from Russia. Any examples of what you guys are watching?
So because I sit on the Intel committee, I have access to a lot of information. What I can tell you that's publicly available is that Russia has used cyber as a weapon against the United States consistently since before the 2016 election. The first really visible incursion by Russia towards America that people were generally aware of was the attack on our electoral infrastructure. We have since hardened our electoral infrastructure to protect it. That's why we protected the 18 election and the 20 election. But Russia has used cyber tools against the United States consistently since that time. So we understand what their technological capabilities are. They are formidable and they could impact us. We've seen attacks in the public sphere over the last several years, from efforts to shut down food supply, energy supply, supply chain. These are things that Russia, China, Iran has tried to undermine consistently over the last 5 years. So this is not a new sphere of operation, but it's one that the American people needs to be aware of because we have to together harden our infrastructure to make sure that we are not being unaware.
What kind of effect can you see on the United States and its people, like an immediate effect of this invasion? Is there anything that can happen sooner rather than later?
Well, my biggest concern is a cyber response from Russia, and that would be seen pretty quickly if they decide to do that. And so we've made sure, and Governor Hochul has already done this. Governor Hochul issued a statement, I think it was 4 days ago now, maybe 5, to say that they are going to create resources and support to protect our critical infrastructure from cyber attack. So I think most thoughtful governors are focused on that. I think mayors have also been briefed and read in onto these concerns. And so we just have to be prepared. And you know, even for any major business that has is part of critical infrastructure, or you know, certainly has customers that rely on them, it's important that they stay abreast and have the best cyber protections they can put in place.
I wanted to ask you about if you were aware of the situation about the crash that took place in Pembroke that took the lives of 2 veterans at the VA cemetery intersection.
Yes.
I was just wondering, first off, were you aware of it? Second off, have you been in any contacts about a possible resolution?
Yes. So I'm very well aware of the terrible tragedy affecting 2 veterans who went to mourn the loss of one of their friends. This intersection has been the focus of concern by not only personnel at the cemetery itself, but they have brought it to the attention of the Department of Transportation. They've brought it to the attention of local government, and I'm very concerned that those concerns were not taken seriously and actions weren't taken. So I've written a letter to, who was the recipient of the letter? DOT?
DOT, VA.
Yeah, so the DOT and to the VA, demanding that they fully investigate this and propose solutions to protect this intersection from future tragedies. my prayers are with the families that have had to suffer this loss, and I am going to aggressively pursue a solution and a response. Anything else? Great. Thank you guys for coming, and I appreciate hosting us. This is fantastic, and I'm really proud of the work you're doing here. It's really amazing. Thank you.